Welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, it is the June episode of the Gold Hoarders, and we have got a cast of characters to sit down and talk about the latest fight nights, as well as a couple other things that are coming up with Sea of Thieves and the community. It's great to see them jump in to talk about what their experience was, and we had a really good discussion around reputation, pain points for Hourglass, and what we discovered in this last week of playing. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. But before I get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They are the ones that are supporting this content. They are the producers of this show. And if it wasn't for them, it would be a lot harder, because they are the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast to show their support and be present for this episode. So thousand thanks to them. Just a big shout out. Appreciate you all so much for sticking with me for so many years. All of those that have been or haven't, regardless, it means the world to me that you do support. So thank you so much again for that and for helping make this episode. So thank you to A-Chick, L-Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Longsharts, Chateau Neuf, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Godhammer 6, Carl Embo of Embo Family Gaming, Kylia the Aficionado, Nightstar 1980, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Norwegian, Rabid Raccoon, Registella the Brony Pirate, Ribloid, Rustbelt Kid, Shoe Daddy 13, Skamelt 666, The Demon Jester, Tommy D, TN Professor, Wailing Witch, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Heger Owl, Jeff H, Captain Duckweed, sorry Captain, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore the Insipid Ghost, and wow, wow. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get into the episode. Welcome everyone to June 2025's Gold Hoarder episode. It is a packed list of guests this month, and we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff that's been going on with Sea of Thieves. After the showcase, the latest fight nights week has ended. Twitch drops have ended. We've got affiliate alliance openings for discords and communities, as well as a new Bilge Rant team that has just been formed with a couple members in this episode. So we've got a lot to talk about, and with that, I want to kick things off, starting off with who's with me today. So shout out to A-Chick, who just finished up streaming. A-Chick, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for the invite.
Appreciate it, as always. Next up, we've got Carl Embo of the Embo Family Gaming. How you doing, Carl?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Glad to have you. As always, Regis Stella joining in. Regis, how you been?
Still good. It's a little cold as always down south here in Tassie, but that's to be expected from this time of year, this time of in this climate of Australian winter.
Definitely.
No snow, unfortunately.
That's okay. You know what? It's a cool thing to look at. It's fun to play in about 10 minutes and then never again. So don't worry about it.
Agreed.
Next up, we've got Rusty coming in. How you doing, Rusty?
Doing good. Living the dream. Good to be here.
Glad to have you. And then last but not least, joining us, the one who's wanted bagpipes, kilts, and diamond pigs forever, Static Mirror. How you doing, Static?
Doing pretty good. Yep, doing pretty good. Just avoiding the outside. It's 82 degrees and extremely muggy, so this air conditioning is my best friend right now.
It's a odd dichotomy of playing video games, which makes your place hotter, but wanting to stay inside because it's too hot outside. What is the lesser of two evils, really? All right. Well,
Playing games.
Yeah, definitely. So we have quite the week of information to kind of go over as far as experiences go. I figured let's start off with the thing that I think a lot of folks engaged with in some fashion or another. And let's talk about fight nights. This is something that we've been expecting for a while. A lot of it feels like something that they wanted to kick up as a result of the success of the last time they did this last year. but also in part because there was quite an issue that happened back in, I want to say it was April, where they actually had to shut down Hourglass for a while due to issues with one of the updates that had come in that felt completely unrelated to, I think it was the hunting spears that came in somehow broke the dive system. So we had a week's worth of double allegiance, reputation, and gold for dives and Hourglass. And I would say that it was a fairly good success. I did not really run into any cheaters in the 30 some levels that I grinded out, and that I've been very impressed with the general community as a whole. Most of the time I didn't run into anyone that was really toxic. Most folks GG'd. I did run into some very weird fights, and it's definitely an interesting discussion to be had. So let's open this up to the floor. And if anyone has experienced Hourglasses this week, what was your experience like? Did you enjoy it? Were there things that you wish were different or change based on the amount of time that you spent? So anyone want to jump in first?
So I managed to get a couple of hours in on Hourglass. I'm currently working with Ollie to try and get him up to the Skeleton Curse. And I'll admit, I went in expecting a bit of a rough ride. Obviously, the last few times we had the issues with people hacking and stuff like that. But in all, it actually went quite smoothly. There were all some really good fights. And yeah, for me personally, it went very smooth. I just didn't get on as much as I would like to, though. But in the grand scheme of it, I'm fairly happy with how it went.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that you got a good experience over on EU, because that was one of the rougher ones for me. Chick, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, overall, a pretty good experience. Yeah, we didn't run into many hackers, but I will say we ran into Fog. We ran into the Red Maw. We did have an issue with when we were sailing with Godhammer. We clipped through the brig, or clipped through the galleon, and we couldn't get back on our galleon. We still managed to pull out the wind, or at the sea post. But yeah, overall, pretty good experience. I started out lower 60s, and I think by the end of Fight Nights, I was in the 80s. So not bad at all.
Nice. Yeah, it was really interesting to kind of run into some of the things. I think there was definitely points where Rare had done us dirty, and we sometimes we won, sometimes we lost, but it was definitely interesting given the fact that, like you mentioned, ancient megalodons are still out in the seas, and they can occupy the same area as a fight goes down. And it really, especially with the fight that we lost because of the Red Maw, if it weren't for the Red Maw, we may or may not have actually won that fight. And it was kind of interesting to see how that works. I was pretty happy myself with Fight Nights. I've been railing against Hourglass for a very long time. I've been working on the Skeleton Curse. This season was enough of a push for me to finally get tired of the fact that there are commendations locked in the bilge rat sections where I can't complete them because of the Skeleton Curse. That I was tired of not getting progress for commendations that I was working towards. And this Fight Nights was the last straw. That was the thing that enabled me to suck it up, have Godhammer jump in with Wailing Witch and Chick for most of our fights, and actually work on getting that curse. I'm glad that I finally got it. Now that I'm done, I don't care about the cosmetics for it. They're cool, but I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to work back on the commendations for Build Rat stuff that I've been wanting to do for a while. And while Godhammer isn't in this episode, he did want to pass on a message to everyone and just say that as a general broadcast, thanks to everyone who sailed with him during Fight Nights, and congratulations to anyone that earned their curse, and a request to Rare that we got to do this again as far as having a week's worth of Fight Night allegiance. So thanks to him for helping so many folks jump into it and get a chance to actually have a positive experience in Hourglass, when I think a lot of us tend to have more negative ones. But who wanted to jump in after that? Anyone? Rusty, go for it.
So, obviously, Logan, a lot of people know, Hourglass is just, I mean, heck, I honestly refuse to call it Hourglass forever because I just didn't care enough to even remember what the name of it was. But with Hourglass, like, I had no desire, like, and even going into it, that first, what was it, the first night or two of Hourglass, of the, the double rep and everything, I definitely went into it with the mindset of, like, this is going to suck. I'm probably only going to put a little bit of time into it, and this will probably solidify me going, you know what, I'm done with this part of the game. I'm not going to get these accommodations. I'll be honest, there was some conversations that were had with some people before this, and I was like, dude, if I get into Hourglass and it's just absolutely miserable, like, I might just put Sea of Thieves down completely for a while because of other issues that I have with Rare and what I think they should be doing or should or not be doing. But to be honest with you, like, it's, as much as I tried to hide it, as much as I tried to tell the people that I was saying with, nope, we can't admit it, honestly, I loved it. It was great. I didn't run into any cheaters with anybody that I was sailing with, or at least what seemed to not there was definitely some funky stuff that happened, but none of the losses, with close to 50 matches, losing almost about 20 matches, so 70, but it was like 30 something matches won, close to 20 loss, something like that. To be honest with you, like, even all the losses didn't feel that bad. Got frustrated a couple times, but realized, like, hey, it was not one thing. One thing didn't change, the outcome of this. It was just a multitude of things. Definitely loved it. My biggest issue right now, and I think a lot of us have been talking about it, is obviously the whole week of Fight Night is great. I think it brought a lot of the community together. People that never sailed together, sailed with each other. And I think, all in all, I think we can all agree that a lot of people had a great time. I was able to get my three trinkets on both sides, which was great. Like Chick was saying, I think I started at 54 on servants and ended at like 75, 76, and we didn't even do Guardians until like the last day, really. And I started at like 53 and still ended at like almost 65. Nice. So all in all, it was a great experience. The problem I have is, and like I said, everybody was talking it up, and I posted it in the Discord, and I said, kind of funny, we were all talking about this, and now it's, it's pretty quiet in here. And that's my worry, is that, like, now it's like, I don't know. Like, I know my crew's not going to be able to get together very often. So when we do get together, last thing we want to do is go into something where our rep is not worth it. So unless if I get a chance to sail with some other folks, I feel like Hourglass is not going to come back around until hopefully they do like another Fight Night for a whole week. I do think that if they were to raise, and we could debate on how much, but I do truly believe if they were to raise the rep, even if they didn't raise like your winning rep, but just raising the rep that you get for losing a little bit more than what it is normally, I think it might be bearable, and it would definitely cause me to want to like go past 100 and care about the cosmetics and care about doing the stuff past 100. But if they don't do that, I'm with a lot of people. Once I get my curses, I'll be done. Like, I won't have a need to go back, which kind of sucks, because like I said, the event all in all really hit my heart a little bit, because I was like, oh man, like, I'm having fun with a lot of people that I don't sail with. I'm having fun with some people that I might not fully have the best relationships with sometimes, and I'm still having a blast, and we're just having fun, and we're all playing the same game we love. So I definitely would love to see some change in the rep, and kind of see and go from there.
I appreciate that.
I agree with you,
Go ahead, Chick.
Rusty. I agree with Rusty. The rep is tough. I think after I get my Guardian's Curse, I'm probably going to focus more on servants, just because I like to run Reaper, PvP, and Adventure anyway. So I think once I complete, get people off the main server, I'll probably dive to Hourglass until I get a new server, kind of thing, like I used to do. I really do like the cosmetics of the Skelly Curse, so now that just makes me want to grind it.
Static, I know you had some thoughts. You want to jump in?
Absolutely. I am in the same boat as you. Well, not anymore. You are in a different boat now. But I'm not exactly too keen on the diving aspect. I understand it's part of the game and I don't have a problem with it. It's just not my forte. I prefer the adventure and then the occasional mingling with other random people, which is fine. But I actually did quite a bit of diving. I dived with you, A-Chick, Godhammer, and then I also dived with Rusty and Big Bad Pad. And I started out at, I think I was 19 for Reapers, and I ended on 40 right now. So I'm kind of going through this slog of I just want to get to 100. But Rusty's right with the rep. The amount of rep that you get for winning a single match, starting out with the level 1 flag and nothing, is 3/4 of a level. Now, if you lower that flag and hand in their flag, it takes you up 1 full level. So essentially, 1 level gets you, or 1 win gets you 1 level. I honestly believe that that should be the standard. Now, here's why. You might be thinking it's a little much, but it's really not. To get the basic curse, you have to be 100. But if you want to get to 1,000, you have to win 1,000 games, essentially, if they had it at that reputation. And then if you want to do that for Athena's, that's another 1,000 wins. You're at 2,000 wins. And based on how the algorithm kind of works, you're at like a 50-50 win percentage. So essentially, you would need to do 4,000 dives if they kept it at this rep to get to 1,000 for both curses at gold level. And that's still going to take forever. I think if they just kept the rep at where it is right now, it would probably have a lot more people diving on a regular basis. I, for one, would probably make it a point to try and dive at least once a week with some people, just to keep that flow inside me. Like, it's like riding a bike. You never really forget, but you get better every time you keep doing it. So that is probably one of my biggest factors in this, is the reputation as well. And I think it should just permanently stay at what they had it for fight nights. Other than that, I didn't really experience any hackers either that I seen. There was only one match where it was awfully suspicious. This dude was always getting on our boat somehow, some way, and it was really, really suspicious how he would just randomly appear on our boat. And I'm like, well, I didn't hear him climb up. I know he doesn't have a harpoon gun, so how did he get here? They definitely didn't fire a cannon at us. So that was the only one that we were a little suspicious on. Other than that, it was a good week, and I still got 60 more levels to go until my skeleton curse. So this is a call out to anybody who wants to drag my rear end around to help me get to this.
To caveat real quick, kind of a little bit on something Static said, something he said that made me think of this. Obviously, we're in agreement on the rep. I agree with you 100%. Like, if you would just change the rep to this completely, that would be even better, in my opinion. I don't see Rare doing that. I understand the concept some people have of like, well, like, it's just like when Prof had the concept of all the time and effort he put into Arena, and Rare should just put this Arena item. And I understand that you work your butt off for something, you go through the grind, you get it. I understand that mindset of like, well, now you're just going to up the rep for everybody and it's going to be easier and etc. You're still going to have a lot of people that drop off, after they get their 100 anyway. So you're still going to have that grouping. But something that Static, and I honestly don't remember what it was, Static, that you said that reminded me of this. But one thing I noticed, that really kind of blew me away and kind of hit home was they're like, Static and I sailed together, A-Check and I sailed together. Neither one of us have ever sailed together before. Now, we've talked, whether it be in here, on Discord, it doesn't matter. We've had conversations in real life, whatever. So there's still an interaction there. What I found awesome was I sailed with 2 individuals that I've never once replied to, talked to, never heard their voices, no interaction with these people, even in Discord ever. And that's to me, that blew me away. There are people with just in our community that literally were diving together in a mode that a lot of people can't stand because they were actually having fun, and people that have never had interactions with each other ever. And it's now these 2 individuals and I are okay, well, hey, we're free on this day, let's sail. So it's that kind of blew me away a little bit. I kind of just wanted to put that out there. Shoe, Frog, thank you guys so much. Love you guys, even though you're in the Air Force.
One more thing quick. I felt like I actually accomplished things week during this fight night stuff. With the rep being so low the way it is, you can do 10 matches. Let's say you win 5 of those matches, you might go up 1.5 levels. With the rep being the way it was, we played like 10 some matches. We only won like 5 of them, but I went up 5 levels. And that still took a little over an hour and a half probably to get through all 10 of those matches, maybe a little more. But by time we were like decided to call it quits and we're like, all right, like we're good. I felt like I accomplished something because the rep was actually making me feel like I'm accomplishing. The grind is real, yes, but I also need a sense of accomplishment while I'm grinding. And with the rep being the way that it is right now, you put in all this time and all this work 2 hours later, and you only go up 1.5, 2 levels. You're like, this isn't worth my time, and I don't feel like I'm accomplishing anything.
I do agree with what you guys are saying, because I feel like we've seen this in other areas where Rare has taken a look at the analytics, they've taken a look at the community feedback and made adjustments to try and ease the grind, so that you at least feel like there's a sense of accomplishment. We've seen this also with them, increasing the supplies on your ship when you start up a new ship. We've also seen them allow us to buy supplies for gold. There's ways that they've tried to ease the burden of entry for folks. And while I think that there is something to say about the grind that you put in for Hourglass and to get your curse, now having my skeleton curse, I wish nothing more than for it to be easier for other folks to get into it and to feel a sense of accomplishment after a win or a loss, regardless. So I do agree, thinking that the reputation during the double reputation times is when most people can generally come together and feel like they're making headway on an insurmountable task for the most part. And I appreciate that the community that we have in this Discord is nice enough to not play the blame game, to understand that something I think Godhammer has championed really well in the community, which is one crew, one win or one loss. It's no one person's problem. We fight as a crew, we lose as a crew, we win as a crew. And I think that makes a big difference. The thing that I've noticed the most this week was I was enjoying my time with people, regardless of what I was doing, even if it was something that I wasn't enjoying as much as other parts of the game. Carl, Chick, Regis, anything you all want to share, or anything that you feel as far as like this goes? What would ease the burden, or where do you think improvements or changes could be made?
Well, I mean, I've mentioned this to you before, and I can't remember if I've talked about it here or not. But in my opinion, I feel like you should always have to put up a flag when you dive for Hourglass. I know that you had mentioned something about, well, what about the people that don't have the emissary yet, can't get the emissary yet? Well, I feel like maybe they should be Pirate Legend before they can do Hourglass, and maybe that'll eliminate some of the cheaters in the game. Just my opinion, but I think that could be an improvement that maybe Rare can think about in the future.
I could see that as a good barrier. How do you feel as far as not being Pirate Legend, but at least being able to access the well, I guess, do you have to be Pirate Legend to get the Athena emissary? I haven't started a new pirate in a while.
I'm pretty sure you do. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be, because I know at least with Reapers you can get an emissary at level, what is it, 25 I think, or 40.
Yeah.
So,
and even right now, Pirate Legend, it's just very easy to get nowadays.
It is.
So not really a hard thing to do.
I guess not that I'm against what you're saying, because I actually agree with what you're saying. My other side of kind of what you're referring to would be, and I might be completely off on this, but I feel like when they brought Hourglass into the game, right, it brought a lot of people to the game that have never played the game. And we all noticed, we've all seen it, they brought a lot of people, whether they were cheating or not cheating, they brought a lot of people to the game that more than likely don't play the game outside of Hourglass. My concern of why Rare would not do that is because that would take away from their number base and their player base. But then again, we don't know. Unfortunately, we don't know what the increase of that player base actually has been. Like, what is the numbers connected to? Okay, hey, this is the amount of people that we saw come once Hourglass came to the game, and this is kind of our average of people that, you know, only play Hourglass. Now, we all agree Pirate Legend's very easy to come by now. It's not like when, you know, Logan, Hefe, and I were in the middle of the ocean, literally with no boat, and then Logan realized, you know, 4 hours later, hey, you know, you can buy your last quarter level, Rusty. Like, we didn't need to spend 4 hours doing this.
I'd wipe that from my memory.
So it's not like that anymore, right? So my concern with that would be, although I agree with it and I'd love to see that happen because I think it would kind of eliminate some of our problems, I don't know if that player base number is high enough that Rare's like, hey, we don't want to lose, you know, X amount of 100,000 people that only play Hourglass, then obviously they wouldn't do that. At least I don't think they would.
Yeah, I get that point. I mean, I think now Hourglass has been out for long enough to where I don't know if the player base would suffer that much. Maybe new people saying, "Oh, there's an opportunity to do more of like a 1v1 battle."
Right.
But yeah, I could see both sides of it.
Carl,
So it
I
kind
would
of,
even.
let's
sorry, go on, Static.
let's get Carl and then Static after that.
So my view on this, it's kind of like a mixture of both, to be honest. Whilst I've always thought, yes, a flag should always go up, there has been that side of me that's always thought, well, you know, we lost Arena. We used to be able to jump into Arena. It doesn't matter about levels or anything like that for that. I feel like there should be a mode where we can PvP, regardless of your levels. So to counter it, what I've always thought would be the best option is that after a battle, they add a new item, and it's the broken hourglass. So when you sink a ship, or the hourglass explodes, whatever, you get like half of the hourglass kind of thing, and that's the item you would then sell as a victory item. I feel that would prevent the people having to grind to get up to Pirate Legend, but it would also still give us something that we can take and sell afterwards for that rep. Now, whether they'd have to balance it with the amount you earn with a flag, I don't know, but I feel like that is probably the easiest way of doing it, considering the item already exists in-game on every ship.
I actually really like that idea. Static, I know you were waiting for your chance to jump in. Feel free.
I kind of agree with Chick here a little bit on the have to be a Pirate Legend to dive. Because though I listened to Rusty and what he was saying, I would argue there's just as many new players that accidentally go into dive mode and get their butts handed to them, and they have no clue what just happened because they didn't realize what they just entered into because they haven't been playing the game long enough. And for the player base dropping off, I don't think that would really be a problem, since there was such a huge, large community of people that wanted a safer seas that it came to the game. And then that same community was complaining that there wasn't enough gold being made in there, that they increased the gold to 100%. So the player base, I would argue the player base is 50-50 on PvP and people that don't want to even do it, since they brought in safer seas to appease those other people.
So I think 2 points that I want to touch on. Carl, I think your idea of an item that gets dropped regardless of if they have an emissary flag is actually really smart. I'm surprised that Rare hasn't decided on something like that, some sort of way for us to be able to earn gold and not feel like people are cheating us of the reputation from a victory because they decided they didn't want to put an emissary flag or didn't have an emissary flag. I like the idea of having Pirate Legend being a means of people having to be like gated, so you run into fewer cheaters. I do think that with them going with a cross stamp system in the game now to try and alleviate queue times, that tells me, at least from a business standpoint, they're preparing themselves for the chance that the player base will diminish, and they have to account for that at some point, whether that's happening now or something that they're just future planning for. I'm concerned in that aspect of it, but I rail against the idea of putting Pirate Legend as a requirement for Hourglass, because I'm already feeling that annoyance with the skeleton curse and commendations. And if someone told me that I couldn't work on my skeleton curse until I had hit Pirate Legend instead of earning 75 in Reapers through Hourglass, I worry that that's a barrier of entry that would work against the freedom that comes with a lot of other stuff in the game. And that would be one of the concerns that I would have. But I think there's a merit to having the flag just go up, whether you're able to access it or not. I think that the flag or an item that allows you to gather and turn in should be something that is just integrated into the base functionality of Hourglass.
So I was just saying then, they've already got a feature in the game where they automatically put a flag up. So foundations are effectively there already with the new Reaper voyage where it automatically puts up the OG Reaper.
Yep.
Surely that can be adapted to when you vote down on the Hourglass, it automatically pops up the flag. But the only issue would obviously be they'd have to have bought the flag first. So I'm sure they'd figure a way around that though quite easily.
Yeah, and even then I do feel like there is an opportunity for them to just say like, okay, this person wants to engage in Hourglass. Let's give them access to the flag just for this instance so that the opposing team has an opportunity to come away with something.
I would join, but sweat lords and all that. I'm not that. I tend to avoid fights all the time. So yeah, not for me. Thanks.
Just doing Hourglass this morning, I ran into so many boats without a flag, and I'm like, oh, these levels are going to be much harder. I'm doing solo Hourglass. And the fights themselves can take in upwards of 30, 45 minutes, depending on what you're doing. And then you sink the boat, and there's no flag. So you're getting less rep,
I think
I feel like... Oh, go ahead, Logan. I'm sorry.
Real quick, I think that because there is a monetary value to the flags as well, too. If you turn in a flag, you're getting some reputation, but most of your gold is going to be from turning in Hourglass, which then at the core of the issue still comes down to what I think is the issue for everyone, which is reputation gain. So do we feel like flags need to be mandatory if the reputation that you would earn if they had a flag is built into the base of just winning or losing?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if the rep from turning the flag in helps us in a more sustainable way, I think that that would be a good basis for whether or not, okay, hey, we're going to run servants and a flag automatically goes up. No matter what you have, the flag automatically goes up, or guardians, whatever. Even similar to what like Carl was saying, whether it be like, okay, we don't do that, but if they don't put up a flag, okay, your Hourglass is floating or something's floating and you get, but I get what you're saying. Like if the rep is, equal to something, or it helps you with your rep, I think that makes a massive difference. And like with what A-Chick, like referring to what you were saying, that's maybe this is the inside conspiracy theory on this, but I feel like every time I would see somebody with no flag, it was one of two things. It was with what Static was saying, oh, it's a new person, they accidentally dove, because we definitely ran across that a couple times. They accidentally dove, they have no clue what they're doing. That's the reason why there's no flag. Or it's like complete opposite, and it's somebody that's probably at 1,000 at this point, or somebody that's well over 100, and at this point they're not, like, they don't care. They're just not. I would almost want to have, I know this is going to sound harsh, I would rather have somebody being toxic and being stupid and just have to ignore them than deal with somebody who's like, oh, I'm 300 and something in servants, but like they're not putting flags. I'm almost convinced they're not putting flags up when they're that high because it's just their kind of way of like sticking it to you.
Yeah.
I know that might be a conspiracy theory here, but I'm just saying, like, everybody that had no flag was one or the other. There was no middle ground. It wasn't like, okay, hey, because like every good fight with the good GGs and the good like talk back and forth, like every one of those, they had flags up, and it was just like either sweat lords or absolute people that had no clue what they were doing diving. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I fought a gold Guardian curse this morning with no flag. So he didn't really have anything in it. Like he had already hit top level. You know what I mean? He was just there for the fight. Going back to the monetary value of the flag, and maybe this doesn't really matter too much for a sloop in these situations, but when you're on a brig and a galleon, you're buying every storage crate you can to go into this fight because you're not going to want to run downstairs. So the least you could get back would be the gold from that flag turn-in to try to recoup some of the gold you're spending on all those supplies.
I do think there is something for that, because unless you are trying to go for champion, most of us have kind of like agreed that dropping at 2 wins is generally going to be the best. And if you've got a grade 5 flag, which hopefully you do if you're doing this, that's going to net you about 100,000 gold. So it's definitely like the value is there, more so in the Hourglass than the flag itself. But to Carl's point, I do like the idea of a broken Hourglass. I think that's a very interesting lore perspective to look at. How do we monetize, or how do we reward folks who aren't going to engage with flags? Because I imagine after a while, Hourglass is going to be a numbers game. People are either not going to engage with it after they've gotten their curses, they're never going to engage with it, or once they have their 1,000, they're not going to care whether there's a flag or not. And I think that it does kind of at least give something to the folks that are still on those grinds.
Hey, I'll do you one better. Like I put up in chat, even if it's a hunter's flag or a gold hoarder's flag or merchant's flag, put up a flag. Because if you're running servants, you still got to hand in so many hunters, merchants, and gold hoarders and stuff like that anyway. So maybe they could add that to accommodations, for the people that are already at 1,000. Just go into diving sailing under a hunters so many times, or go into diving sailing under gold hoarders so many times. There's multiple benefits to it, but like I said, a flag is a flag. Just make it mandatory to put one up.
I definitely think that there's a lot to be said about what people are trying to get away from when it comes to Hourglass. I think there's a point where at some point there is a level or a change that will come in that could convince Regis to jump into Hourglass. If it's where we have reputation double what it is currently baseline, and then we have an event where it doubles what the current is, so it's effectively quadrupling the amount of reputation that it takes. I think that over time, if there is a decline in Hourglass, Rare will consider doing either a boost in the reputation at a base level, more frequent fight nights, things to try and engage the community in this way. The 2 things that have happened in the last, I would say, quarter that have really stirred up the community have been the fight nights for this week, and the week where they had all forts a potential to have, what was it, like 15 Ashen Legends chests and a chest of fortune, I think was what they were doing as far as like the fortnights, something like that. Those are the things that have really kind of garnered interest from the community. So those are things where I'm like, okay, if this is what the community wants, Rare should try to adopt these in on a regular cadence to keep things going with the community, to keep interest with the community, as opposed to at the moment where it feels like, oh, well, now that Hourglass bonus is done, everyone's kind of like, all right, well, unless I'm really close, I'm not gonna do anything in Hourglass. I'm gonna wait for the next event. And that's a shame, because there is something to be said about joining in with people that you don't know in a community to start working towards that as a common goal, and get to meet and jump in with new crews that you normally wouldn't have.
Come to join me, crew lad. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, we'll say like the last time I played, because you mentioned me like getting me to play Hourglass. Last time I played Hourglass with, I think it was Godhammer. Like the players there were just like so sweaty. I'm like, okay, what the hell's going on here? And then the Godhammer realized, oh, it's him. It's his experience that the matching to meet your experience. So I wasn't meeting people on my level, I was meeting people on Godhammer's level, so that kind of put me off. So yeah, just
the matchmaking, I think, is integral, and I think you bring up a really strong point. Is that Chick? What did we run into that duo crew? That was one of them was a gold or a gold ghost, and we had a regular ghost.
Yeah, yep. We got paired up with a gold and a regular curse.
And that was, I mean, we did really well considering, but that was not a fight that we should have been up against. And it's
No.
Yeah.
I think we won two? We won 2 fights, and then it auto paired us to, yeah.
I think it was.
I mean, and like this morning,
total.
I got paired up with a gold. Yeah.
But that's definitely a situation where I worry that people like the matchmaking, if they're going to start opening up to more regions, if they're going to have these bonuses where you're going to get a larger swath of people jumping in, the matchmaking needs to be tighter when it comes to wins, losses, and the aggregate MMR. But Rusty, you had some thoughts?
Yeah.
Or Regis?
Go ahead, Regis. Okay. Kind of like I understand what Regis is saying, because I've screamed to the top of the mountains 1,000 times. You know, PvP and adventure, I don't have a problem with. You know, whether the person was toxic, whether they're just really good, whether they've been cheating. Normally in adventure, it's like whatever. Like, you know, there's definitely ways to PvP and adventure, and you know, dealing with the toxicity, not a problem. Whatever. You just half the time you ignore it. As I've gotten older and played this game longer, I've learned to ignore it and not engage with it. You know, but like even with cheaters, there's always ways to get around it. There's, you know, sometimes it doesn't work, but even with cheaters, like we've sunk people that we clearly know we're cheating. So, but that's because PvP is different in adventure. I have no problem with PvP in adventure. It's either I'm really good or I'm really bad. But you know, in Hourglass, it's always like, man, this is just a different way. It's you have to play different. You have to fight different, whether it's ship battles or even with straight up, you know, pirate to pirate like PvP action. Like you just have to play different. And because it's been such a grind, because it's been such just a royal pain in the butt, it caused me to be like, do I, you know, well, I'm only going to get better if I play more. I'm only going to get better if I try it more. Right. And I can understand that frustration, especially like with Regis. And I understand where you're coming from and how you like to play, but trying to get you to come out of your boundaries a little bit. I will say this. I sailed with Godhammer quite a bit this week. And obviously, like, what his matchmaking is going to be compared to my matchmaking and Hourglass is 2 different worlds, right? But the amount of little itty-bitty things, even playing on a PC with a controller, because I refuse to use the mouse and keyboard because I feel like I'm just a complete moron and can't do it.
Weirdos. Because
I don't know how to move my little fingers on my left hand. But
I resent that, Logan.
You resemble that.
Resent it.
That's what she said. Resemble.
Resemble that, right?
Resemble.
But the amount of things I was able to realize, like, oh wait, if I do this, this works, or if I do this, this works, or if I work on doing it this way, it definitely changed the way I play. And I did post it in the chat. I know Chick saw it. I don't know whoever else saw it, but like the one thing that like I massively took, like I have no problem helming a boat in the world, right? Like in adventure, it's no big deal. But the fact that like Shoe, Frog, and Hefe and myself were on, and I'm like, in my mind, I was like, okay, look, it's our boat, it's the Black Rose. You know, Hefe or I have to be at the helm of this boat. We have to take control, right? And I had to look at it and go like, look, well, Hefe doesn't get to get on very often. So I want him to have the full extent of like his experience so that way he can have fun and try to enjoy his time. And it's like, I took control of the galleon out of all things. I was like, okay, here's what it is. Front sail up, middle sail up. We're going left. If there's a rock in the way, if there's something in the way, okay, it is what it is. We'll with it. We won 4 in a row. It's taken me 7 years to get there. But now I'm like, whatever, fine, I'll take the helm. Now, do I want to take it every time? No. But like, it almost changed after 7 years of the way I'm looking at this game and the way I'm playing this game. And I know everybody's different, and I know it's hard and the grind sucks. And, you know, I would love them to change how that grind is. But I feel like if there are certain changes to the rep, to the leveling, you know, especially with somebody like you, Regis, getting you in there, yeah, it's frustrating because the level that you're getting matched at is going to be way higher than probably where you'd be at. But if it's hard sometimes, but if we don't take it, we can't take any of it personal. And I take a lot of things personal, even in the video games. And when I kind of just put that all to the side, and with people like Godhammer, like you said, Godhammer's really good at doing that. Like, hey, we're winning and losing this as a crew. It's not one individual's fault. And when you kind of just take that and go, you know what? We're just here to have fun, and if we lose, we lose. Losing's a lot easier when at least the rep is sustainable, you know. And I go back to what I've said before. The rep that you earn normally, winning or losing in Hourglass, is probably one of the worst multiplayer rep leveling systems I've seen in video games in a long time. Like, I would rather go back to Halo Infinite when it first came out and the rep was horrible, and then when you did earn something, it was like, oh, here's a shoulder pad in only one color.
That was terrible.
That was more enjoyable. That was more enjoyable to me than what normal Hourglass is. So that's pretty bad to me. But so, you know, I would love to see some of those changes, because I would love to see people like Regis be able to come out of his boundary a little bit and open up a little bit and get put in a situation where he feels he can be successful even with the matchmaking leveling being way off in that situation. Just wanted to point that out.
I really like... Oh, sorry, jump in, Static.
Oh, just one more quick thing. I just kind of put this up in the chat. What if there was a leveling system that was based on your current level in Dive? So I'll make some examples here. If you're level 10, you're only going to face against people that are 10 through 20. Once you're level 20, you're going to face against people 20 through 30, and then et cetera until you get to 100. Then once you hit 100, it's just open reign from there, because at that point it shouldn't matter. But now, to counteract what you might ask me, well, what do you do if there's multiple people and there's higher level differences between the two people? Then the leveling system should go based off of whoever is the highest on the boat. So let's say, since I'm level 40, I would only be facing people between 40 and 50. But if I team up with Godhammer and him and I go in duo, then I am under the understanding and accepting that I will be facing people that are just as high as Godhammer is. But let's say I team up with somebody that's 45. Well, now we're going to be basically facing people around the same level as myself. But once he hits 50, then I'll get bumped up to the 50 through 60 range, even though I'm still technically in the 40s, because we're going based off of he's the highest person on the boat. I don't know if that maybe possibly makes sense a little bit to you guys, but kind of like something I had going in my head for a while.
I see this in other games. There's other games, especially Blizzard games, that have different ranking systems. So you've got bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, masters, and then grandmasters for like Heroes of the Storm. One of the issues that you run into this is when you start getting into the upper echelons of people, there is going to be a stark difference between the folks that are in the higher brackets compared to the people in the lower brackets. And even if you bring in someone who's low level, what you end up doing is there's no guarantee that if you bring in Godhammer, say Godhammer's 500 in Reaper's Bones, you're 40 in Reaper's Bones, you're going to be matching up against other people in that duo who are going to be closer to his level. But there has to be a system that accounts for the fact that two people want to play together. Their levels could be vastly different, but they want to play together. The game is allowing you to play together without having restrictions saying like, sorry, you can't jump into an Hourglass match with Godhammer until you hit level 100. Otherwise, you're going to be paired up against a duo that are 475 and 330.
Right. I actually explained that. So if I pair up with Godhammer, I have to be on the understanding and acceptance that I will only be paired up and playing against people at his level. But if I'm by myself or with somebody that's lower, then I'll only be playing against people that are slightly lower. But the whole leveling system would be based off of whoever is the highest level on that boat currently.
Yeah. I think the trouble.
Sorry, Logan. Like how I was like paired with Godhammer and my levels like at the low, barely even like to the tens. So just kind of works for me, because my level, for those who want to, for the record, is Guardians is 7 and Servants is 9. And 5 of those levels from each of those things came out of nowhere. I'm like, where the hell did those come from? Pretty much.
Well, and Regis, you can speak on this. I mean, you can speak on this yourself. I mean, I can't speak for you when I say this, but like, okay, so even if there is a decent leveling system, whether it's similar to what Static is saying, or Logan, I know what you're referring to with some other games. Like, hey, cool, you can play with this person, and you can do this raid, but you have to be a level 100, because if not, you're gonna get stomped, right? Like it is what it is. Obviously, I think the way PvP and Hourglass works in this, it's kind of a little bit different than something like some of the games Blizzard puts out, where like, or some of the games where like, oh hey, you have to be level this to do this raid, and here's why. I think the game system is very different, but at the end of the day, if the rep was the way it was this last week, and like I said, Regis, speak for yourself on this, but if the rep was the way it was last week, and Regis decides, hey, I'm gonna jump on a galleon, and we're gonna have Godhammer, A-Chick, and Logan, and Regis jumps on, like he knows, like, okay, well, all these people are way above me, but at least if the rep is more sustainable and more reasonable, like, okay, yeah, Regis, I don't know. I haven't played with you, bud, so I can't say. But like, he knows his skill level.
Different
he knows
time
where
zones.
Well, right, exactly. But like, your skill level. You know where you're at. You know what you're good at, what you can't do. You're good at. But even if you go in there and you say, okay, I'm gonna galleon with these 3 individuals, and all I'm gonna do is build. So I'm probably gonna spend 90% of my time down below. I'm just gonna build. It is what it is. There's a little birdie outside my door that says Logan's a really good builder now too. So you'd be in good company. But like, if the rep was like worth it, I would think, and like I said, speak for yourself, but I would think you'd be like, okay, you know what? I'm playing with some people I like. It might not be the most enjoyable, but over time, I'm going to get better at this skill, or I'm going to get better at this, and okay, cool. I'm having more fun doing it. It doesn't mean you're going to play it all the time, but at least if the rep was worth it with a decent scaling system.
Yeah, but for me, like, by the time I want to play, like, say, like, 5 or 6 in the afternoon, all of you guys, most of you guys, are probably sound asleep at, like, say, midnight or something. So for me, like, your midnight is like my, like, 6 hours behind. So
yeah, but even
even
if you take time zone completely out of it, and I know that's a big crutch, and that's a big issue, right? But if you take time zone out of it, right, like if you take time zone out of it and you're on the same, like you're on a reasonable time zone with everybody else, or even if you just had a sustainable crew that was like the same skill base as the people I'm talking about, right? I think that's a world of difference for somebody who doesn't PvP as much. If you have a crew that, whether you sail with them or not very often, but at least you have a group of people that hey, we're going to go Hourglass. The rep is worth it. And I know this is what the scaling is, but I know I'm only going to be doing this specific job because I know I'm good at this and I can do this. Then I feel like it's more reasonable for anybody. It's not just you, it's any of us. Like I said, there was stuff I did this last week that I'm like, I don't really like doing this. I mean, I tried to bilge out the stupid grate on the galleon 40,000 times and was getting yelled at by Hefe because it was not going out because I just couldn't get it to go out. Guess what? I stopped doing it that way. We come back to all this stuff we're talking about, and I feel like we still come back to the main thing of, is the rep worth it?
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Is it making it worth it to have fun with my friends and play with my friends? Because when it stops becoming fun because it's so awful, whether you win or lose,
I agree.
Then it's not worth playing anymore. And that's 100% what happened to me with Sea of Thieves, period. It was like, man, I'm just not having fun.
Yeah. Rusty, let me jump in and give Regis a question here that I'd like to hear his thoughts on. To Static's point, I think a ranking system would benefit to get an idea of at least who you're fighting against. I see the faults in it when I play other games that people are like, I'm stuck in plat hell. I can't get out of platinum. I can't get into diamond. You got people that are gold, looking at folks that are getting brought into their matches who are bronze, and there's already a stigma before they even get the game going because they're already looking at, oh, well, this person's 2 ranks below me. And my match is already determined before we've even started because they're clearly two rankings below me. So it's like I worry about the stigma that comes with having a transparent MMR system in the game. But if you were to get better reputation, if you knew that you were going to be matched up against higher level people, would you want to engage with that if there was more opportunity to earn reputation that felt impactful?
Depends on who I'm fighting against. Like, I don't want any, like, you know, sweat lords on the seas. Just, you know, like that kind of version of PvP just kind of switches me off. Like, okay, I'm not gonna fight them because they're probably gonna say something. Because, you know, I'm autistic, so I'm probably
looking at it just from a worth it for you to jump in, take out voice comms, take out, like, you know, time zones. Just looking at like a best case scenario of you fighting another crew who's equal, but higher fight or a higher skill level, say like where Godhammer's level is. If you didn't have to interact with the other people, is the reputation enough of something to draw you in, or is it still too much to get you into like Hourglass on a regular basis?
We'll say I will give it a go the next time it comes around, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna see how this goes and see how, you know, once you get your curses. Sorry if you hear that in the background. Just, you know, I'll give it a go. Like, next time the fight nights go around, like, you know, seeing how people, like, from this group chat alone, like, you know, just a lot of, like, you know, people like that put off Hourglass for like years, in fact, because, you know, things needed to be refined before they got to this point. But yeah, I'll be willing to give it a go once this fight night ever comes back again. Just, yeah, I'll give it a go.
Okay, I'm more curious in your perspective, given right now, I think the main discussion a lot of folks are resonating with is that the reputation isn't worth it at a regular time compared to when we have these fight nights. And I think that's something that is really the biggest pain point. I like the idea of having more transparency with the MMR system, but that comes with caveats as well too. So to Static's point, there is merit in having it, but it depends on how it goes, how the community reacts to it.
Yeah. Again, I will try again once the fight nights. I will try and give it a go once the fight nights actually come around again. As long as you guys don't mind me, like, you know, a bit of Aussie swearing kind of thing.
And I think a lot of it comes down to who you join up with. Static, how do you feel as far as the MMR system? If they were to introduce that, do you foresee issues with people being picky about who they jump in with when it comes to their ranking? Because ranking starts to bring in a whole other, like, where are you at? Where is the other person at? Do I want someone below silver to join me for my ranking? Is that going to pull me down into a lower bracket kind of thing? Like, how do you feel about that?
No, because in a sense, because you're always progressing in the game no matter what. Like, whether you win or lose, you're always progressing that to another number. The way my ranking system worked would not be a platinum, gold, diamond, onyx, whatever. It is literally just based off the number, but you are always constantly progressing. But what my ranking system, essentially the way I explained it, would do is promote lower level people into going into PvP, knowing that there's a high chance that they're going to play against someone that's just as horrible as they are, or maybe just as good as they are. So if you're saying that maybe people will create a new account or whatever and go in, well, that's fine. They'll just blitz through the lower levels much faster and get out of the way of those people that are still trying to struggle and figure out their numbers. So when you're just at level 10 trying to get to level 20, I'm going to be facing anybody between level 10 and 20. And I'm only going to be facing those people. And then, but every time I get a win, it progresses my number up another number, which then will eventually get me to 20. So then when I hit 20, guess what I'm doing? I'm facing people from 20 to 30. So it's just going to promote people that aren't super great at PvP into fighting into PvP against people that have the same mentality of, I'm not really good at this, but I'm also fighting against somebody that's not really good at this. This could be really funny at the same time, or it just lets you eventually build your skill up at your level and at your speed. Now, for somebody like me who I just want to get my curse and be done with it, I will gladly want to team up with someone who has a lot more experience and is much better at it than I am to get me there. It's not going to boost me any faster, but it is going to train me a little faster, and it's going to train me to be a little better. So that's why the system is based off of whoever's the highest number on your boat, and that you have to be accepting of the fact that you will be playing people much higher than you. But if I play solo, or if I play with somebody else that is currently my level, it also lets me know that I will also be playing against people closer to my level. Now, let's say there is nobody else on the seas at that time that's between 10 and 20. Well, the system should be designed that way it might pull somebody from the level 30 ranking. So that's just, to always keep a battle going. That's how I feel that it should work. But in the end, I think that it would just promote people that don't PvP too much to actually do this, because then they can play at their own level and learn at their own speed.
I definitely see the merits to that. I think World of Warcraft's the closest thing I can think of that does something like that with their battlegrounds, where you're based on 10 level brackets, and once you level past that, you're then brought into another bracket. It definitely has like a lot of things that you'd have to talk through to make sure that there are exceptions taken into account. But I don't see a reason why having you paired up against other crews that are of the similar level wouldn't be a bad thing. I think that could be something that's taken into account to at least afford people the opportunity. I definitely have like worries about stuff like that, but in this imaginary system that we're talking about, it's not worth really diving into that too much. But it is an idea that I think deserves to be talked about, and probably has been at Rare. We don't know quite why they decided to go with a hidden MMR system, but it just depends on how they wanted to surface a lot of that information to let you know, like, where should you be matching with other crews, and how does that get factored when you're playing with people of vastly different levels and experiences. Because I could very easily see if I've taken a break from the game, but I'm coming back to it after not playing for 6 months, and my ranking is, in the 300s, I'm going to be pretty rusty, and that's going to be pretty painful, going back in fighting people who are still fresh within that bracket or that level of leveling, if that makes sense. But
those aren't pieces of 8. They're just pieces of junk. Aye, the original plan was to use 9 pieces of 8 to bind Calypso, but when the first court met, the brethren were to a 1. Skint broke.
We're already a little over time, but I did want to open it up to anything else you guys wanted to talk about real quick. I know we had some Twitch drops. We had the affiliate alliance program get kicked up, which Keelhauled is now in the running to has been submitted for the Keelhauled podcast for the affiliate alliances. So if that is something that I get chosen for, I will start kind of like talking with everyone and getting ideas as far as competitions, events, things like that, where we can actually start to do ways of people winning the affiliate alliance sales and tattoo set. But until that actually becomes a reality, I don't have any news or anything else to really kind of share with that. But it is something that got kicked off. Carl and Chick, I know that we had talked about this at the start of the episode, but did you guys want to go into the Buildrat stream team?
Yeah, so last month they officially announced the new members of the Buildrats stream team, the official stream team of Sea of Thieves. Both Chick and myself with the Ember Family Gaming channel were both successful in joining that. Over the next month, we both have 3 Gilded Crest giveaways to do. I believe, Chick, you've done one, I think, if I'm right. I know I've done one already.
I've done 2, actually.
Oh, you've done 2?
Yep. Got one more left. I'll probably give that away like after the 4th of July holiday here in the US.
Yeah, mine's going to be very similar. So I've already gave one away on the family channel. I'll be doing 2 more, but that won't be until after Softfest, which is obviously in 2 weeks' time. But yeah, there's lots of people, really some awesome people that I class as friends, and people in the community that are well known have all been very successful, and a lot of new folk that I've not met yet. But I'm very excited by it, and it's going to be a great opportunity for a lot of people, I feel. But yeah, so a massive congratulations to everyone who also got into that.
Chick, did you want to jump in with anything on that as far as your streams or what's going on with the build rats?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I've got one more crest to give away. But Becky's the one that actually invited most of the people, Becky Frost. And she said, so over the next year, we're going to have access to other giveaways. Obviously, they're going to try to line those up with some of the events that they're going to hold. We're going to have group events scheduled with all the other build rats. There's going to be workshops. There's also something else I don't want to like blast out here, but we do get access to something actually kind of exciting. Won't mention it here, but it's something like if you guys want to DM me at the end, I may tell you. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of things. We're going to be able to host events and stuff like that. So really looking forward to it. And again, congratulations to the whole Build Rat stream team.
Awesome. So yeah, there's a lot that's been going on. We didn't get to really touch on too much, but I think realistically, the feedback over Fight Nights was imperative. The one thing that I've noticed from our conversation today is that we were discussing the game at the core design level, as opposed to the issues we ran into with playing it. And I think that's a testament to the team who's been working on the stability, who's been working on the dive system, working on the hacking, that we weren't complaining about how, servers were on fire. We couldn't log in. We kept getting dropped. We never found matches. We've had odd instances, obviously, and that is something that I think I've seen Sonic, Bob, or Drew Stevens talk about online as well. They are aware of some of the issues that have been common in this Hourglass and this Fight Nights, but it was nice to hear that people were actually playing, doing Hourglass, getting their curses, getting their levels, and actually getting a sense of accomplishment out of it, which at this point is great compared to what we were dealing with back in, say, like October, November of last year. Was there anything else anyone wanted to jump into?
The only other thing really is just a quick mention for Softfest. I said it a minute ago, but obviously Softfest is on the 11th and 12th of July in Warsaw in the UK. There's going to be some really good panels on. The cosplay competition is still open, so if anyone's going in cosplay, feel free to sign up to that. That'll be held on the Saturday with rewards for the top 3, I believe. Otherwise,
the devs coming back the devs coming back for an interview.
Yes, there's actually 3 panels with devs this year. You've got the likes of Joe, Mike, Shelley, and Dom Nash on one. You've got an audio panel including Robin Beanland and a couple of other guys there, and of course the art panel as well. So got some really interesting people on the panels this year. There is actually an option at the moment as well. I think it's on the website. If you have any questions you want to put in, there is an opportunity to do that, and Tizzy will ask them on the day as well. So I'm sure it'll be recorded. So I would say that's open to pretty much anyone realistically.
Yeah. I'll have to stay up late, like very late, and like midnight late to watch the things to get more information from the devs. If anyone wants to join me, I'll probably be right here on the Discord. Just keep in mind, I'll be probably like sleep deprived or something.
Do we know if they're going to be recording this and streaming it?
They've done so the last few times, so I imagine so. Streaming, mind you.
They are planning to. There were some technical issues last year regarding the Wi-Fi there. But I believe they have been working closely with the venue to ensure that it is all at least recorded, if not streamed to the official Softfest channel. Now, I'm not a first mate or a crew or anything like that, so my word's not gospel, but that's what I believe is happening.
Yeah, I think that's
possibly.
I was just
gonna say you could.
Go ahead, Regis.
I was going to say you can interview them next time, Logan, or one of them at least.
I mean, hopefully
one of the Softfest people.
Yeah, it'll definitely be nice. I will say that, if you feel like you're getting too tired, as long as they're recorded, hopefully you'll get the opportunity to watch the VOD on that, because I think a lot of folks, just given the nature of the UK being 5 to 8 hours ahead of most of us in the States, by the time a lot of this stuff has happened, there's a good chance that we're either just getting up or not even awake yet. So most likely, a lot of us will be watching the VODs on this. So hopefully that works out really well, and they're able to have that go as expected.
Hopefully they have some juicy information in regards to season 17, because I would like more information to become public about it. Just saying.
Yeah, I imagine that they've probably got their pipeline ready for announcing more information about that, but hopefully it's something that we can expect as a result of it. I'm sure Mike, would be there to kind of share some little tidbits,
possibly regarding that the smugglers might, keyword might, be connected to the GMU some way, somehow. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Well, Drew is very explicit about not having high expectations, so at this point I'm assuming it's just a couple of people that wanted to go around and take stuff, and I'm not gonna have any high expectations about any future lore or tie-ins to other things, because it doesn't seem like that's where they want us to be setting our expectations as far as the lore goes.
Well, let's put it this way: if Mike Chapman's involved, so don't be too surprised if something slips. I think last year he slipped out about crouching, for example. Sometimes he just can't help himself. It feels like something might slip. So it'll be interesting to see. It's always good fun.
All right, pirates, that is going to do it for this episode. Thanks for everyone for hanging out with me and chatting about the fight nights and the Hourglass and our experiences so far. Looking forward to next month to see, as we will probably be a lot closer to the launch of season 17, what we find out from SOTFest, what we find out from videos or dev updates and things like that. But as always, I'm going to go down the list and say thank you to everyone that joined me. And if you guys have anything you want to say or shout out, always feel free to do so. So starting off with Chick, thanks for joining in. I'm sure you're probably anxious to get your ghost curse, so you're probably going to head back out onto the seas. But anything you want to say or do as we head out?
Yeah, just thanks for having me. Appreciate the time. Yeah, I've still got 8 more levels to grind, so I'm going to be heading back out on the sea. So if anybody in here wants to join me, feel free. I'm trying to get a galleon crew together just to make this a little bit quicker.
Rusty, you're unmuted, so let's go with you. Anything you want to say or do?
No. I mean, good times, guys. I'm glad everybody's here. I'm glad everybody that was able to be involved over this last week. From the sounds of it, most people had fun. Just be safe out there, guys, and have fun. And yeah.
Awesome. Carl, we're heading out. Anything you want to say or do as we head out?
It's a pleasure to be back on. It's been a while. It's always a good laugh to be on here and have a chat with everyone. The only thing I'd say is, obviously, anyone at SOTFest, if you see myself and the kids, please come over, say hello. I did actually get recognized from this podcast last year, which was really cool.
Nice.
So yeah, I look forward to seeing everyone there, and I will hopefully catch you all soon.
Awesome. Regis, we're heading out. Anything you want to shout out or say?
Just not that much. I don't know. You've been doing this for like 4 years now. You think I would have something new besides promoting fanfics and quests and whatnot, but nah, just nothing new this time.
No worries. It's all good. Just appreciate you being here. Static, we're heading out, buddy. Anything you want to shout out or say?
I mean, the basics. Crystal pigs, kilts, and bagpipes. But today, I'm going to leave it at a question for everybody. When you're on a galleon and you got mid-range holes, why can't I bucket the water out of the hole that's in the middle of my ship? And we'll leave it there.
All right. Food for thought. Pirates, thank you again for joining me, and I hope you have a good rest of your weekend.